Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story in which our OP painstakingly rebuilt a customer's crashed PC, only to be told it wasn't fixed. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Customer: make it like it used to be. Me: say less. I once spent quite a long time fixing a computer for a new client. After the PC had crashed, the old hard drive failed completely. Fortunately, the customer had a basic file backup from perhaps a year or two ago, so we got most of the files back. However, I had very little info to go on. I didn't know the original version of Windows, no idea what apps they used or what email client they used. I was met by repeated, "I don't know," and it didn't look like that before. I continued to be patient, calm, and understanding, bringing up images on the internet to see if any start menus or apps looked familiar. In the end, I installed the latest and greatest of everything. I got it looking really good, easy to use, and all their apps on the start menu. They started getting pretty moody when we'd spend half an hour trying to recover the forgotten email password. Apparently, the security question wasn't something they'd have ever known. The partial recovery phone number wasn't theirs until, yes, it was their landline. Then they couldn't find the password in their book, even though that's not the one I use for my email, except it is. Finally, I've invested enough time on this. I've asked all the questions and squeezed out a few answers. The computer's all good. However, I get several calls over the next couple of days asking where some obscure apps have gone. Why did I remove them? Why have I not installed the dodgy cleanup utility they paid for? Why have I deleted the email contacts? They meant autofill, which obviously was empty. Where are the browser passwords? I go back and get a lecture on how it's just not good enough. They've been invoiced good money for their computer to be fixed, and frankly, it's not fixed. They just want it back the way it was. TBH, I'd really undercharge for my time anyway, maybe 2 hours instead of the actual 5 to 6 invested, because no matter how hard I tried, it was never going to be a job they were completely happy with. Being younger and less experienced, I'd missed some potential red flags. The customer was slightly outside my usual area. They should have been able to find several technicians closer to them. The first phone call had been out of hours. They'd been a bit difficult and uncooperative from the start. They'd almost expected the job to not be good enough, and during the small talk, they'd already complained about their plumber and how many times they've had to find a new cleaner for their home because they've been let down several times. They hadn't yet paid the invoice. Get it back the way it was. The client popped out of the room for a couple of minutes, and I was so fed up by this point, I took the side off the case, removed the new drive, and reconnected the broken one, still in the case. I picked up my tool bag and met the client in the hallway. All sorted, it's back exactly as it was before. And don't worry, I'll cancel the invoice so there's nothing to pay. I made a dash for it. I have no idea what happened next. I ignored a few missed calls and then blocked the number. I thought about how I'd reply to any kind of email or online review, but I heard no more. I'd like to think they got someone far less patient, more expensive, and got a worse result. It's impossibly frustrating to do IT work for people who know absolutely nothing, but they're sure you're doing it wrong. And our second story. We did exactly what policy demanded, which meant absolutely nothing got done. This goes back to my days working at a large public transit authority. Safety was the golden rule, emphasized constantly, drilled into us at every opportunity, especially when it came to moving buses, and with good reason. We had around 250 buses in our depot, and maneuvering those beasts, each weighing upwards of 15 tons, through tight spaces was a daily challenge. Between narrow depot lanes, dim lighting, and unpredictable weather, one careless move could end in disaster. Now, our yard has a particular layout. The outside lot was organized in such a way that around 50 buses had to be backed in every single night. 2 long rows, nose to tail, 25 buses each. As per our established safety protocols, no bus was to be backed into a spot without a backup helper, someone standing behind the vehicle, guiding the driver, preventing collisions. You'd be amazed how easy it is to accidentally crunch one $800,000 bus into another if you're backing blind. But here's where management got clever, or so they thought. In a cost-saving move, they decided to eliminate the dedicated backup helper position Previously, it was usually filled by an operator on restricted duty, someone recovering from injury or unable to drive temporarily. But some pencil pusher higher up figured this standing around and waving your arms gig was a waste of money, so they nixed the job altogether. No plan to replace it, just expected the remaining staff to make do. We had 6 shifters working the yard. These were trained operators who handled all the post-route movements, fueling, parking, pulling buses into maintenance. The rules clearly stated that an operator was never to leave a bus unattended. If it was running, someone had to be in the driver's seat, no exceptions, so there was no room for improvisation. First night after the change, the dominoes started to fall. The first bus rolled into the yard and radioed the yard dispatcher for backup help to safely reverse into a spot. Nothing, no response. Dispatcher ignored them. Second bus rolled in, same request, same silence. This went on. By the time the 6th bus pulled in and sat waiting, the entire process had backed up, literally. 10 more buses were now stuck outside the depot gates waiting to get in. It didn't take long for the neighborhood to notice. The depot was already unpopular with the locals, and now they had a traffic jam of idling buses blocking their streets. Horns honking, diesel fumes wafting, neighbors calling the police. Chaos. Meanwhile, all 6 of us shifters were parked inside the yard, stuck in our buses. We weren't allowed to back in without help, and we weren't allowed to leave the bus unattended. Catch-22, and not our fault. Eventually, the yard dispatcher, completely overwhelmed, called up management. Cue the panic. By the end of that shift, the missing backup helper job was reinstated, and not only that, it was now considered overtime critical. That meant for the next 3 months, the duration of the current shift rotation or pick, someone got paid extra to do the very job they had tried to eliminate. The same waste of money position was now a line item on the overtime roster. They wrote the rules. All we did was follow them to the letter. It wasn't our job to break policy or take shortcuts, just to make management's lives easier. Sometimes the best way to make a point is to do exactly what you're told. Nothing more, nothing less. And our next story. Karen tried to report my SAR dog while trespassing on our training grounds. I've been a search and rescue canine handler for over a decade now, 11 years and counting. It's not glamorous, but it's rewarding. My dogs, pit bulls. Beautiful, driven, loyal animals who can sniff out a missing person faster than most people can find their car keys. We train hard. We train often. And while we get the occasional raised eyebrow about the breed, it usually takes about 5 minutes of watching them work before people change their tune. Yesterday, I was out with my younger dog, Hondo, a gorgeous blue brindle boy with energy for days. He's close to certification, just fine-tuning some alert behaviors. We're working a 20-acre section of a 600-acre private property we have permission to train on. Not public, not a park, no ambiguity. Hondo was off-leash, wearing 3 collars, a GPS, and 2 IDs. He was in full work mode, nose down, tail moving like a metronome. I could tell he had the scent the second he hit that wood pile. A few seconds later, he crested a ridge and disappeared. Standard stuff. Then I hear the barking. Not aggressive, just excited. And a couple minutes later, Hondo comes barreling back, leaps up to bop me with his paws, and bolts off again. That's his alert. Found someone. Let's go. I'm jogging after him, and as I round the corner, there she is. Karen of the mountains, in full-on panic SWAT mode, waving a collapsible hiking pole at my dog like she's fending off a bear. Now, Hondo, professional that he is, didn't even flinch. He just sat about 10 feet away, pink rubber pig in his mouth, tongue lolling, waiting for me. He did everything exactly right, even with this woman screeching like someone stepped on her overpriced hiking boots. Karen, how dare you let your dog off leash? Me, ma'am, I'm with Search and Rescue. We have permission to train here. Karen, there are no dogs allowed off leash. This is dangerous. Me, this is private land, and my dog's literally training to find missing people. That's his job. Cue, phone in the air. She starts recording like she's busting open some giant criminal conspiracy. Karen, you think this behavior is acceptable? Me, yes, because it's his job. Karen, I want to speak to your supervisor. Ah, there it is. Now, in our SAR team, supervisor doesn't mean some office manager hiding behind a desk. It means I've earned enough experience to run a scene, manage a crew, and make judgment calls on the ground. And I was the senior handler on site. Me, you're talking to her. Karen, you're lying. There has to be someone above you. Me, there isn't. I'm it today. Karen, you should have asked me before letting your dog run up. Me, you shouldn't be here. This is private property. You're trespassing. Karen, what's your name? Me, Just call me Handler OP. Karen, your last name. Me, you don't need that. She turns to my teammates, two guys standing nearby in high-vis SAR vests, and starts snapping photos of them and Hondo, who's now belly up in the snow, gently chewing on his toy pig like he's on a spa day. Karen, what are your names? Do you approve of this? Both guys shrugging in unison. She's in charge. Eventually, she storms off, muttering about lawyers and dangerous breeds, while Hondo hops up, shakes the snow off, and goes right back to work. Ironically, the subject, the person who we were actually searching for as part of the training scenario, was about 20 feet from where Karen had her meltdown. Hondo found him again in seconds. Nailed it. Solid alert. Got all the praise and treats he deserved. Later, Karen managed to find a few more of our team members farther down the trail and gave them the full rant, claiming my dog charged her, that I rewarded him with treats for being aggressive, and that clearly something was wrong with all of us. They tried to explain SAR protocol, handler authority, even the legality of it all. She told them to hush and accused the entire team of endangering the public. But let me say this clearly. Hondo handled that better than most humans would. He stayed focused, he stayed calm, and most importantly, he found his subject under pressure. That's what we train for. So yeah, while Karen was busy playing trail police, my pit bull was out here saving lives. But sure, tell me again how your hiking pole was going to keep the world safe. And our last story. HOA president tried to fine me $3,000 for swimming in my own lake. Now they pay me to use it. Hi, I'm Jim. I've been living in my house by an old quarry lake for over 8 years. And this isn't just some muddy pond. It's a stunning 60-foot deep crystal clear lake with fish, ducks, and the perfect escape for hot summer days. The previous owner had stocked it with several types of fish, and they've thrived ever since. I love fishing here, just like my dad, who often visits, and my kids. Sometimes I even convince my wife to join in, but that's another story. Part of the lake borders the local HOA's property. Years ago, the previous owner made a deal with them for a one-time payment. They could use part of my private shore for 10 years. I only found out about this later. I never really cared. The HOA folks would fish or swim occasionally, and I didn't mind. Until Karen became HOA president. Karen was the walking stereotype. Bleached blonde hair with inch-long dark roots, shiny framed glasses, lips permanently curled in disdain, and an Olympic-level obsession with issuing fines. One July morning, I was on my porch sipping coffee, watching my wife and kids swim in our section of the lake. Suddenly, Karen's white Lexus LS pulled up like it was the season finale of a bad soap opera. She got out, stared at them, and started taking pictures. Me. Good morning, Karen. Karen, without even looking at me. That's a violation. Children are only allowed to swim in the HOA zone under supervision of a certified lifeguard. Me. This is my lake, Karen, my property. They're swimming on our shore. Karen, you signed the community rules when you bought your house. Me. I'm not in the HOA, Karen. She scoffed, turned on her heel, and left. A week later, I got a certified letter, a $3,000 fine for violating lake safety regulations. At first, I thought it was a joke. Nope, it was an official HOA letter signed by Karen. I brought my property documents to the HOA office, clearly showing my section of the lake was private. Karen didn't even look. Karen, you can appeal, but my husband's a very expensive lawyer. He'll leave you without the shirt on your back, so consider your appeal denied. That was my turning point. I went to the city archives, found the original HOA access agreement, and saw the magic date. It expired 5 years ago. The payment had gone to the previous owner, not me. So at the next HOA meeting, I walked in, smiling, armed with documents. Me, good evening. Just so you all know, the agreement allowing you access to my lake shore expired 5 years ago. From now on, either I close it off or you pay me $10,000 a year. The room exploded. People gasped, whispered, laughed nervously. HOA member, wait, if we pay $10K, our HOA fees go up? Me, yes, or I put up a fence. All eyes turned on Karen. Resident, this is your fault. You started this. Karen, he's breaking the rules. We have to show him who's in charge. Resident, he's not even in the HOA, Karen. 2 days later, I found a petition in my mailbox to remove her. Signatures poured in. At the vote, 90% of the residents kicked her out. The new board called me immediately. Bored. Jim, we're sorry for Karen's behavior. Can we make a deal? Me. $2,000 a year and you can keep using the shore. Bored. Deal. The bogus fine vanished. I've had no trouble since. And Karen, her house was on the market a week later. A month later, she was gone from town. I still don't know why her very expensive lawyer husband didn't swoop in to save her. Maybe he knew better than to fight a losing case. And honestly, Karen leaving was the best possible outcome for everyone's peace and quiet. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.